What's up, everybody? Welcome. I've got Fred Smith here, and man, this is going to be action-packed. Fred, who do you help, and how do you help them?
Hey, what's going on, Kyle? I help people who are already in the industry optimize their conversions. I'm a conversion rate optimization specialist.
Okay, so what does that mean for people that are not tech savvy? What is it in layman's terms?
I love saying it just like that because for the super technical people, they get it. For the people who are just starting out and who want to know more about it, all I'm really doing at the end of the day is making sure that your thoughts line up with the client's thoughts or the customer's thoughts or the prospect's thoughts so that you can properly take them through the part of the journey specifically that they're on. So that way you're not wasting ad spend, you're not wasting any energy, you're not wasting anything. You're specifically in their head right there at that point in time.
Okay. So it's interesting. It's like taking them through this advanced process, almost like you would take somebody one-on-one and you bring them through the sales journey, but you're able to do that one-to-many without the one-on-one. Okay.
100%. Yeah, that's the key because since Facebook really changed our algorithm back in 20, actually it's been 2019, people don't realize it. But what they've done, they've taken a lot of behaviors and interest away. So what they're looking for is a very specific conversation to a broader audience. So that would be called opportunity cost. And the way that that works is like when you're actually running ads, you have campaign level, then you have ad sets, then you have ads. All you have to do is, as even if you're just starting out, is if you think like, okay, what's the broad audience that I want to hit and what's a specific message I want to say, then what happens is you get into this what I call avatar calibration, which is another left brain thing. But just to keep it amazingly simple, I take your message right where it's at and I just match it up with where your audience is.
Very cool. So there must be some pretty intense like data mining and tracking and all that stuff that goes with that.
Actually, no. What it really boils down to, especially when I'm talking to people in the actual industry, I'm like, look, go back and remember your ideal customer, right? Chances are you've already helped that person. They've already moved on a little bit further down the lane. Let's just see where they're at because a lot of people are too busy trying to get new clients when they realize they have acres of diamonds like right there. And all they have to do is find where they want to take their brand in addition to where their previous client was and just connect another dot. And that's really a super efficient way to just do business.
So good. Very good, man. How'd you get into this? What was your journey?
Well, my journey started really insanely. I'm from the inner city. I'm from Chester, Pennsylvania, and I actually started doing door-to-door sales when I left. I went to college for a little bit. I went to Loyola College in Baltimore, and I did door-to-door sales. And then I learned this skill set when I was in the Marine Corps. Like I told you the other day, like short of me doing the nuclear school, I learned these top-level marketing and advertising skills in the Marine Corps back in 1996. So I've been able to take them and just refine them and make sure that the message is amazingly simple. Yes, the process is extremely complicated, like how we talked about coming out the gate. And I kind of hate to start that way, but I want people to understand that there is a higher level thought process that most people are already operating out of. So, because like I was telling you before, campaign is actually a military term. So we, from a military level, had to structure the way that we had conversations, whether it was for campaign acquisition, meaning like we're actually trying to conquer like countries and stuff, all the way down to just, hey, we want to run an ad and we want to do some promotion for a military recruitment video. So it's the same process. It's just the way that we have to put it for commercial use, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, door-to-door sales, that's like the school of hard knocks of learning sales. That
Yeah,
will
I was
sharpen
pretty
you up
good at it
faster than
too.
anything else.
Yeah, I was pretty good at it. I actually got to the point where I was running two magazine crews together. And that was about, at one point in time, we had 60 people. So I was responsible for even managing the managers. So I did that for
Wow.
a few years before I joined the Marine Corps.
So
So
you're a
the Marine
regional
Corps actually,
manager.
yeah. So the Marine Corps actually toned me down a little bit because I was just super aggressive coming off the road. So,
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, and I share that background with you. I come from door-to-door sales too, so it's always fun to talk to another door knocker. And
oh, yeah.
how much of that trick can translate into your marketing message? Because we're talking about bringing people through a buyer's journey. When you meet somebody at the door and they're barely peeking through and they're looking at you as an enemy, you take them through a buyer's journey first as resonance and making them comfortable, like you're a neighbor, right? And then you go from there to building deeper rapport, digging into their problems. So there's a journey that goes one-on-one. How does that translate to online?
It actually translates 100%. As a matter of fact, I have a binder that's about this thick that I'm going through right now with my notes when I was actually on the road. Because my former mentor, his name was James Ellison. He's no longer with us, but he was so good at what he did. Other magazine crews would come from all over the country just to see where we were at, so they would learn from him.
Oh
And
wow,
they, yeah,
that's big time.
yeah, and I would actually train some of these people who were coming through door to door sales for their magazine crews. So it translates really well, because I say whatever business you're in, it doesn't matter. Get into the people business and just understand what their specific problem is, and just write to that. Talk to that one person, and then that's really how you do your initial consumer profile. Just talk to that one person, and then goes from 1 to 2, and 2 to 4, and 4 to 8. And next thing you know, you have this geometrical progression.
Yeah. And you'll start to narrow things down, right? You find out that everybody has the same pains, everybody has the same hopes and desires, and they can fall into like 3 or 4 different boxes.
Yeah.
And they're going to feel like you're reading their mind, even though you're just responding to what everybody else is experiencing.
Yeah, it's funny you say it just like that, because even when I was in the automotive industry doing that, that's what I did with dealers specifically. So I was responsible for launching one of the top automotive brands right now, their 36 company. And literally the dealers, I knew what they were thinking, so much to the point that they would go literally like, get out of my head. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you really know me? I'm like, well, yeah, because that's what you're going through, right? It's just like, yeah, because I'm not here for hamburger. Like, I didn't fly halfway across the country to leave my family just to have like a random conversation. So if you really understand that that's what the market is online and offline, then they're really coming to you for a pressing problem. And it may show up as one thing, but when you really understand how your market is, you find there's something that's completely deep that they haven't even thought about subconsciously. So I'll give you an example. Most of the time, people have problems with wealth building, and they don't understand that the people who may be ahead of them are actually on page 10. But we have to figure out exactly what part of wealth building, because that's so broad. What do you mean specifically? Are you an employee? Are you self-employed? Are you a business owner? Are you an investor? Okay, great. We have to figure out where you are. Now let's figure out where your audience is. Are they employees? Are they investors? Are they side hustlers? Are they, you follow me? Like, it's just so much information that you have to know yourself first and go for your own nodes. Like, hey, who am I willing to talk to? Who am I not willing to talk to? And that way you really start getting a lot of that refinement. And so by the time you actually see your ideal client, you know for a fact that they're going to rock you to about 80%. I'm not necessarily saying 100%, but you can literally put math behind this. So that's really what I do.
Yeah. So knowing yourself helps you know your avatar better, helps you know your prospects better.
Yeah,
And
I'll give
then,
you an example. I mean,
yeah,
this
go
is
ahead.
huge. Like actually, even one of my friends, he walked away from a $70 million company just for that reason, because he did not like the avatars that were coming through. It was just it morphed into something completely opposite of what his belief systems were. And I've done that as well. I've walked away from a whole bunch of businesses that I started from scratch, and just kind of go, and you can't pivot too much, because sometimes that person's deep embedded into the philosophy and the mission overall that started, but I grew. So it wasn't the client's fault, it was my fault. But shame on me for not really eating my own taking my own medicine at that point in time, if that makes sense. So I've been able to
Yeah.
recalibrate and repivot and get a little bit more broader, because I was too narrow to the point where in the market where the message was, you can be too specific in your message where, yeah, you'll have a niche audience, but it also becomes like a cult classic. So you have to have a little bit more of a range. Think about
Yeah.
3 or 4 steps out beyond the journey, and just literally like, and I don't want to sound too woo-woo, but this is really how it works. Like, you really have to see where you're at 1 year from now, and see where your audience is going to be 1 year from now, and just engineer that whole process into that lane.
Okay. Now, what about people starting out? They don't have an audience. Do you help them start to build that?
Yeah, 100%. In the easiest way, and I like to ask this question, I'm just like, well, do you have like a $2,000 phone? You don't just have a $2,000 phone with nobody in it. You follow me? So even if it's just that audience initially, and I like to give people the idea of like an open house. Like, even in open houses, whether it's network marketing or whether it's real estate, what do? They say, hey, I have this open house. I just want you to come in. I want to get your feedback, blah, 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 blah. But what most people don't realize is the rule of three, where there's always like 3 people above you that you want to talk to. Like, I guess when Russell Brunson talks about your top 100, just start with the top 3. Top 3 people who you want to talk to. There are 3 people beneath you who really need your help. And then you have 3 of your peers on your left and 3 of your peers on your right. So that's literally 12 to 1 for starters. And that's how you can create a market out of thin air, by
That's good.
understanding that one person who you're talking to is connected to 12 people. It's 12 to 1.
Yeah. So it's all about relationships, building those relationships, building that reciprocity so that you can essentially have this referral network built out.
Yeah, well, that's really how it works, regardless of whether it's a cold funnel or a warm funnel. Because if you look at distribution and how distribution really works, usually there's somebody who just specializes in stuff that's already working or workable, and they'll just promote it. Like as an example, most copywriters, I share my list with other people. There's nothing wrong with that but they have to be congruent with my values and my beliefs. I don't just randomly go, "Hey, here's my list and have a nice day." It's like, no, here's where this person is, and here's where I draw the line, and here's where they pick up. Like as an example, I told you, hey, I'm going to talk to you to my audience. I don't know much about this other stuff that's going on as far as the click funnels and go high level, but I love click funnels. That's the reason why we were talking, and that's how I started cutting my teeth. But I'm just like, look, at the end of the day, if you can get the idea of like a bowling alley, right? Everybody has their own alley, they have their own lane, but we also have our own like bowling center, if that makes sense. Like you've got your own lane, you're good at this, you've got one person over here, one person over there, but collectively, you all can come together and just give handouts, give layups, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good because it together each achieves more, right? And a team doesn't mean just with your company. It also means a team of people that are your peers or that are higher level than you, also your mentors. There's this book that I read called Executive Presence. And
Mm.
in that book, they talk about this concept of managing up. So when you were talking about people up above you, that's what this is all about, is managing that upper network. And the more that you can do that, the more powerful it's going to be because there's power in proximity.
Yeah, I'm also going to give you the law of Wu-Tang. Check this out. This anybody who's in hip hop understands Wu-Tang, but this is really how it works. When you watch companies being built from scratch, it's typically a bunch of solopreneurs who have gotten together who have totally opposite skill sets, and they come together collectively as a group. And then they ultimately have this formed organization. And that's really how some of the top companies really get started. If you look at, as an example, Elon Musk, he started with PayPal that way. You know, you look at Ellison over there at Oracle, he had a whole group of people. Same thing with Steve Jobs. He worked with a few other people. So you already have these concepts in place. What we have to really understand is that it really is teamwork to make the dream work, but also look at it as a band. Like if you have your own instrument, if you want to form a band, what do? You need other people around you. We have all of these models in place. We just have to be willing to see them and accept it and say, okay, well, look, this is what it works. This is what works. This is what I don't have. Who has that? And then ask them.
Yeah, so good. Very good stuff, man. Where do people go more when they want to go deeper with you and continue to get insights? What's next?
Well, they can go to my speedscaling.com website. I appreciate that. I also can drop the link string down. I just finished up my book. It's 103 pages of literally my brain downloaded from thinking like this over the last 30 years. It is a very dense read. I've had some of the top industry experts look at it already. They're just like, yeah, man, this is like exactly where we're at. It's mainly for high functioning startups so as an example, like someone who may be a solopreneur or in a side hustle and they're looking to get some rapid information as to how they need to structure their life. You know, it would be that kind of thing, if that makes sense. Like they're stuck, they need some help. I provide the red meat. They can look at the buffet and they can choose from what they want. So they can go to speedscaling.com or they can check out my link tree.
Awesome. And comment below, guys. Comment below to support the interview if it's something that you enjoyed. Also, comment below if you want to connect with Fred, and I will make sure that you get connected. But thanks so much for being here, Fred. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you,
Thanks, dude.
guys.
All right.
See ya.